Okay, so why did we become bipedal? Why was it an advantage? What changed? Why did we come out of the trees? Well, I think that about 7 million years ago, the climate changed and it was getting cooler but also drier. So in Africa, here we go, it went from being a whole lot of basically forests to being more scattered woodland. So some of the trees died out, so you ended up with sort of little clumps of trees. Of course, this all took a while as the climate changed, but so we might have a group of trees over here, another group up there, some down there, some over here. And so now it became much more of an advantage. It is still an advantage to swing through the trees, but if you could then get from where the food and the safety from predators is in the trees, you can get there efficiently from one clump of trees to the next clump of trees to the next clump of trees, then that made walking much more of an advantage, because you could be safe in here, nest in there, feed in there, but then you also had to get to another food source and another food source. And walking on 2 legs is much more efficient and energy saving than trying to walk on 4 legs. Plus, of course, the added advantage is you now have your hands free. So not only can you move from place to place, you have your hands free so you can carry food back with you. And you could also carry tools, sticks, stones, things like that. So being able to walk on 2 legs got you from place to place more efficiently, and also left your hands free, importantly, for carrying the food that you found. Walking on 4 legs, you can actually be faster, but walking on 2 legs is more energy efficient. So the ones that happened to be born with the ability to walk better on 2 legs could therefore carry more food, and they did better. They were selected for, and they then passed those genes on to their offspring, and so the characteristics that made bipedalism easier were passed on to the offspring, because they're the ones that survived. The other great thing about carrying food is you could carry food back to your mate. So we're now living in social groups where females are able to have young all year round. We're living in family groups, and if you had a mate that could then bring you back food when you were vulnerable, having just had a baby or feeding a baby or whatever, then the mates that could carry that food back did better and had more babies. Okay, another advantage of being bipedal, apart from carrying food, tools, and babies, you were a bit taller as well. So it may be that you were able to see where the food was over the long, so there's long grass in between here. You could see where the next bit of food was. You could see where predators are. Also, a slightly confusing concept is thermoregulation. So here we have, so if you're standing upright compared with being on all fours, it means that the sun, while still beating down on you, is only beating down on less surface area. Whereas if you're on all fours, you get hotter because a lot more of you is exposed to the sun. Also, if you're standing upright, any breezes that are blowing, because this is a greater size, will cool you off more compared with this. So standing on 2 legs gave us better thermoregulation, because even though things have got drier and cooler, it's still very hot in Africa, and a lot of animals living in African sun in the middle of the day have to go and rest and have a bit of a siesta and a lie down, whereas because we were better at keeping ourselves cool, we could keep walking around in the middle of the day when there was no predators, which was a big advantage. It also meant that we ended up losing some of our hair, so we're not very hairy anymore, and instead we got sweat glands. And the breezes are part of that, because you need a breeze to evaporate the sweat, which helps keeps us cool. So that's why we got hairless as well. Okay. The problem with being hairless, though, and being better at being bipedal is means our feet are different, and so we're less good at gripping onto things And so it's harder for the babies to use their hind legs to grip on to the parent to be carried around. And also without any hair, there's no hair to grip on either. So what happens then? Oh, the babies can't hang on very well, as they're better at walking and their feet have changed, which means that they need to be carried more by the parent. And of course then if you're better at standing and walking on two legs, you'll do better at carrying offspring. So the parents and offspring that had the good walking had to be better at carrying, but then the more you carried, the more you sort of got better at walking. So these two things reinforced each other. So often what happens is more than one thing is active at once that makes the bipedalism trait accelerate. So was quite, the change from quadrupedalism to bipedalism was actually quite rapid, but this is in evolutionary terms, so by rapid we mean over about 2 million years. But that's a really huge, fast change, but it's because each thing reinforced the other thing, which leads me to feedback loops. This standard has quite a lot about positive reinforcement and feedback loops, so I've drawn a very big one here. Just look, we're just going to do it bit by bit, so we're just going to look at the blue bit to start. We'll start here, okay? So you can start a feedback loop anywhere, and each thing reinforces the other one. But we're going to start, we're walking upright a bit more, okay? Using our 2 feet a bit more, freeing up our hands. That means that we ended up with this forward-facing big toe. It's now an advantage to have your, not a grippy toe, but a forward-facing one that's better for walking. This means that our infants can't grasp on anymore to the parents very well because their feet aren't so good at doing that, which means that the mum has to hold them more, which reinforces the need to be good at upright walking. And so all these things reinforce each other, and each thing makes the other thing happen more. It becomes more of an advantage to have the other thing. Outside of that, I've done a second feedback loop that feeds into the first one as well in red. Oh, that light's really annoying, isn't it? Oh, sorry about the light. Okay, so outside of that, I'll just change the reflection here. There we go. We have over here, okay, we've got upright walking. Those air currents are helping cool us down, so we end up with more sweat glands. We end up with less hair, because hair interferes with the sweat gland thing. And then less body hair means that both the infant can't grasp and they have to be held more by mum. So this is all reinforcing the other feedback loop. So everything that happened, the advantages were so great with the walking and the freeing of the hands that they all reinforced each other. And that's what feedback loops are. Okay, so that's probably enough for this time. So that was why is an advantage. A really huge thing is being able to get to the food and hold the food in your hand, carry it back to other people, and the advantage of just having more food and more energy perpetuated, having those bipedal features. Hope that makes sense. Bye.